Ladies and gentlemen, would you please direct your attention to the front left of the theater? Wayne Gauntz sat in the front row for the first 8 Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame induction celebrations to date. Sadly, Mr. Gauntz passed away last year. The Hall of Fame wishes to honor his tremendous support over the years by always leaving the first seat vacant in tonight's and all future inductions. The following tribute, written by author Gary West, a friend of the family, is placed in the Hall of Fame. It was an easy decision for Wayne Gauntz to enthusiastically support the initial efforts of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Wayne reached the pinnacle of success in the restaurant business, and along the way, he developed a love affair with high school basketball in Kentucky. As a junior in high school in Carlisle, Kentucky, he attended his first state tournament in 1950 when it was played in the old Louisville Armory. He didn't miss another one until his death in 2020. Wayne would describe himself as just a common man, but his life was anything but common. Always with a love for his family, he moved his deep faith alongside that love, and in the process, his business world became more manageable. For the Nicholas County native, it began in 1958 as he launched a small grocery business before turning it into a vast network of enterprises, including restaurants, gift shops, and hotels, including 150 Papa John's franchises nationally. With corporate headquarters in Glasgow, Wayne set out to share his good fortune through his principles of faith, prayer, charity, and forgiveness, and gives God all the credit for his success. The soft-spoken man with the infectious laugh avoided the spotlight, rarely seeking publicity for the numerous charities he supported. Treating everyone with respect and kindness came very easily for him, and his deeds were wrapped in love. Wayne Gauntz achieved many great things in his lifetime, but his goal was to make a difference in someone's life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hall of Fame player and coach, Leah Wise Pruitt.
Welcome to the 2021 Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame induction celebration. The Hall of Fame's journey began in 2012. And through the efforts of numerous selfless, supportive, and philanthropic people, the primary goal of capturing the rich history of Kentucky high school basketball has been successful. Basketball is an action-oriented sport that has united communities, excited student bodies, and offered great entertainment to fans across Kentucky. Tonight, we once again recognize the sport's brightest stars, while we pause to remember those who have made up the total fabric of the game. From the fans to all those who played, coached, and loved high school basketball. I have been blessed to be able to grow up and live in a state that shares my passion for the game of basketball. From the moment that girls basketball was revived in 1974 in our schools, I was hooked. I cannot imagine how my life would have been if Title IX had not forced public schools to allow girls to play sports on an equal playing field as their male counterparts. I remember my first game at Leestown Middle School that included 50 jump balls and a score that ended 9-7. In the same way, I remember playing in the state high school championship game in 1979. It is the journey, the practice, sweat, dedication, teammates, and coaches that made up my experience. Basketball has provided myself and so many other girls and women the ability to compete, see the world, learn and teach cooperatively, and lay a foundation of character-building qualities that last a lifetime. The Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame is an endeavor that I am so proud to be associated. It is archiving our deep, rich history of basketball in our state. This is not only an induction, but an oral history of each inductee and their Kentucky high school basketball experience. This would not happen without our sponsors. Please take note of them in your program. Again, I welcome you, sit back, and enjoy the story of each of these great inductees.
gentlemen, the 2021 class of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Frank Selby was a late bloomer at Corbin High School and rose to great heights in the basketball world. He is now coming home to reside with the greats of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Welcome Frank Selby to the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Representing Frank, who is unable to be here tonight, is his brother Marvin Selby. Rodney Wood's basketball journey began at Lone Jack High School, then on to the University of Tennessee, and finally to a Hall of Fame coaching career at Wayne County High School. Please welcome Coach Rodney Wood's Wayne County High School, 1987 to the present. Derek Anderson was a non-stop, action-oriented star athlete at Louisville Doss High School. Every game he played resembled a highlight reel. He now joins fellow Hall of Famers who will admire his style. Please welcome Derek Anderson, Louisville Doss High School, 1992. Pat Talent is the youngest of four brothers who all played at Maytown High School. He honed his competitive spirit and skill set in a family tree where his brothers helped guide him to the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Please welcome Pat Talent, Maytown High School, 1971. Clarence Wilson emerged from Horse Cave High School as a star player on championship teams. However, the rest of his basketball story led to international fame with the Harlem Globetrotters. To the tune of Sweet Georgia Brown, Clarence enters the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Representing his father here tonight, welcome Clarence Brown Jr. Coach Bill Brown became a Derby City coaching icon at Louisville Southern High School, the ultimate professional with a touch of class. He led his teams to championship glory. He now joins his fellow coaches in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Please welcome Coach Bill Brown, 1975 to 1998.
Bob Mulkey.
Certainly be called champion of champions. As a player, he led the Lexington Lafayette Generals, and as a coach, he led the Louisville Seneca Redskins to basketball glory. However, to all that came to know him, it was the man that was most impressive. Please welcome
Bob Mulkey.
Lafayette High School, 1950. Dirk Menefield finally reunites with his high school coach, Jock Sutherland, in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Together, they helped create one of Kentucky's greatest teams in the late 70s. Dirk's style, athleticism, leadership, and energy helped drive his teams in high school and college. Please welcome Dirk Menefield, Lexington Lafayette High School, 1979. Sarah Hammond helped bring basketball glory to her hometown of Mount Vernon. As a Rockcastle County Rocket, her career lifted off in 2009 and splashed down with a championship in 2011. Her ascent continued as a star with the University of Louisville. Please welcome Sarah Hammond, Rockcastle County High School, 2011. Barney Threet was a player meant to be a leader, and a leader he was. He captained the Brewers Redmen as a player, followed by a successful coaching career. If the Kentucky High School basketball inductees were a team, Barney would be chosen as their captain. Barney is unable to be with us tonight. Accepting on behalf of Coach Threet is his granddaughter, Gretchen Johnson. Sarah Elliott led the Jackson County Generals to a Cinderella story that culminated in a Sweet 16 championship in 2002. A wonderful individual who gave it all for her school and community, she is now part of a historic team that makes up the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Please welcome Sarah Elliott, Jackson County High School, 2004. Tim Riley apprenticed under several great coaches before he got his chance as a head coach. And when he got the chance, he certainly made the most of it. District, regional, and state championships became his mantra. Coach Riley is a blue-collar coach known for his competitiveness and solid work ethic that carried him to the Hall of Fame today. Please welcome Coach Tim Riley, 1990 to the present.
100 years ago, most high schools in the United States were smaller than they are today. It was then that basketball became the ideal interscholastic sport. It required little equipment and few people to play. The popularity of high school basketball became unrivaled in Kentucky, with over 500 high school teams at one point. Every team had its town. Every town had its team. Today, basketball's popularity remains high, both in rural areas as well as in our larger cities. Many Kentucky players go on to participate at higher levels of competition after graduating high school. But the essence of high school basketball in Kentucky is more than a player's dream of college stardom. It is more than mastering the skills required to play the game. It teaches many life lessons. It teaches our children how to be competitive. It teaches fair play in an orderly, rule-based system. It teaches how to deal with the highs and lows that are embedded in competition, shaping their character in the fires of competition. It teaches that teamwork is essential for success. Players develop lifelong friendships with each other, and their coaches teach them not only the rules of the game, but mentor each player. Basketball teaches a work ethic, which creates success and boosts the player's self-confidence. And that confidence carries over in all aspects of life, from the classroom to personal decision-making. High school basketball in Kentucky teaches our children how to succeed in the real world.
Sweet 16 means perfection. It means dreams. It just means a way of life in Kentucky.
To win a state championship, I can feel it now.
The best feeling was winning with your friends you grew up with. You know, it's nothing better than that. You know, share with the guys you played with since you were 5, 6 years old, and you know, being with them at that moment, you know, there's nothing better than that.
It never ceases to amaze me how much impact those days have made on my life, and it was a special time.
The roads are lined with, I'm seriously, a couple thousand people waiting for us, and it does mean so much to a small town.
It was a good feeling to have united that whole city for one time. It was just a great feeling.
What makes it so special is that it's sort of like a family atmosphere.
You'll never forget anything like that. You probably could have not found too many lights on in London during the state tournament. I think everybody went.
Kids grew up going to the games with their parents. Look in the crowd at the Boys Sweet 16, you'll see people who have been there for 40 or 50 years. And it's just a tradition thing that people go every year, whether they have a team in it or not.
It's one of a kind. There's nothing like it in the United States except for Kentucky, where 16 teams come together for 4 days from towns or schools of 100 people and then schools of 3,000 and try to win a state championship.
It's a lot of love, a lot of respect for Kentucky basketball. This is the place where all other states would love to be as far as how the game of basketball is played.
It just takes one game, and if that small school is on top of their game and the Giants are having a night off, it can happen. There's only one big trophy that's going to go home, and it can't be taken away. It'll be etched there forever.
The shot heard round the Commonwealth, like this team, will be remembered forever.
I talked to Paul Andrews, the gentleman now that hit the game-winning shot 35 years ago, and like he told me, it's a part of my life. Wherever I go, they don't ask me about University of Kentucky that I played there. They ask me about the shot heard around Commonwealth.
I can remember one of the first times that I was at the Sweet 16 was when Clay County beat Ballard. The next year, Ballard came back and beat them.
And you have a new state champion in high school basketball for 1988, the Ballard Bruins.
It was a contrast in culture. The city, even though all of us weren't, from the city, but we were the Louisville team. We were the urban team versus the rural Clay County. And I'll never forget, winning it and standing up on the scores table and just kind of taking it in and saying, wow.
These players, King Kelly Coleman from way back in the day, Mud Creek. I mean, those kind of teams and those kind of little towns, people still talking about them, this legendary stuff.
It really didn't sink in right then, I think it sank in afterwards. Afterwards, you realize, what we did. The first team in Mason County to ever win the state championship. It was a great feeling.
My high school principal called for me towards the end of his life, and as he was passing, he wanted me to have the state championship ring, and that's what the state championship meant.
My remembrance of that last game was that we just had to have it. We had to win it, that this is what we had practiced and this is what we had trained for, to get to that state tournament final and to win it.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Hall of Fame host for tonight, from the UK network, Christy Thomas, and of WLEX-TV and UK network, Keith Farmer.
Hey, listen, thank you all so much again for having us. I have to tell you, I've been here since the inception of the High School Basketball Hall of Fame, and this is such a wonderful event. I'm humbled and honored every single year when I'm asked to be back here. Keith is with me for the first time this year, but he is not new to high school basketball. You've been covering it for years, so you know what really this is all about and exactly what we're trying to do here and accomplish.
I mean, I can't tell you, a couple of years ago, I had the chance to do the Mr. and Miss Basketball, MC that event, and just to be around all the people that you've seen through the years involved with high school basketball was just a special time, and it's the very same thing here tonight, seeing so many people that I've covered, some of the people that I've heard about, and it's how special it is to see somebody going into a Hall of Fame. It's just an awesome night to be a part of it.
Well, and what a special organization this is. This was, born out of ideas and some thoughts that really basketball means so much to our state and means so much to all of us that this was really just kind of a no-brainer to do something like this. And so much blood, sweat, and tears have been put into really getting this established and getting this off the ground. And you all can be looking for a lot of the Basketball Hall of Fame out in the community this year. Some really fun things that they have planned. There are 5 heritage games that are going to be played at various times throughout the state. There are 5 Glory Road events that are going to happen at really historic gyms across the state. So some really cool events that really are going to tie in. That's what the mission is to get out to the community and really talk to them about your all's history and all the wonderful things that they've done here.
I love the fact of doing that because it's a chance to get out and see some of these great gyms that many of you know about, and maybe some of them you don't, and give a chance to give them some recognition as well.
Yeah, these younger kids need to know a thing or two about these old gyms. They don't, they're a little spoiled these days, I think. All right, well, let's get to it then. We have got a wonderful evening planned for you guys, so let's get started with our first inductee. Only one player has ever scored 100 points in a Division I college basketball game, and the player just so happens to be from our great state. An incredible feat at any level of basketball, and was just one part of an amazing career for our first inductee tonight. From Corbin High School, it's Frank Selvey.
Frank Selvey, Corbin High School, 1950. Frank Selvey was an outstanding player for the Corbin Redhounds in 1949 and 1950. He would be named to the All-State team in 1950 while leading Corbin to a third-place finish in the Sweet 16. Frank was a sleeper recruit that woke up Coach Adolph Rupp when he watched him play at the East-West All-Star Game in 1950. University of Kentucky followed with a scholarship offer, but Frank was loyal to his Furman commitment. The rest is basketball history. He had a stellar All-American college career and a 100-point scoring game. Frank Selvey is the Kentucky player who got away and found fertile ground in South Carolina. He was the #1 draft choice for the Minneapolis Lakers and would one day play in the Los Angeles Laker backcourt with Jerry West. Welcome home, Frank Selvey, to the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
The city of Corbin provided a lot to the people in Corbin, and particularly in athletics. We lived very close to the YMCA in Corbin. They had great indoor basketball courts, outdoor basketball courts. Everybody learned to swim there, you learned to play football there, you learned to play handball there. Just everything you want to do in sports. My brother Frank spent his spare time really practicing and learning to shoot a basketball. But it was really great growing up there. The community supports sports as they do today. We were lucky that we grew up in Corbin. There were 9 boys and 2 girls in our family. There was a lot of love in our family, a lot of caring, a lot of respect for other people. It was just really a good atmosphere to become an athlete if you wanted to. My brother Kurt refereed high school and college basketball games for 50 years in the state of Kentucky. He loved being involved in athletics. He got drafted out of high school in the Second World War, and he came back and he loved sports. He was always involved in it, he and my brother Bade, and they loved that competition. And I think that sort of passed down to Frank, saw that, and then my brother Ed saw it, and we saw them, and it was just like a snowball effect that we saw all these. They were great athletes. My dad was also drafted and served in the First World War. Mining was pretty much the only job that you had, and he went to work in the mines at a very early age, and he pitched baseball on the mining team. Sports didn't mean a lot to her. In fact, she encouraged us not to play a lot of times. She was afraid her little boys were going to get hurt. The whole time we were growing up, everything he got was deserving, and that's pretty much, everybody respected that, and everybody supported Frank. Frank didn't ask for a lot. As a matter of fact, I don't think he ever asked for anything. He proved everything he was doing when he was as an athlete. And if you're around Frank long, you know there's a lot more to him than just being an athlete, and he's always been that way. When Frank went to Furman, he was 6'1" freshman year, and his sophomore year rolled around, he was 6'3". Sophomore, junior, and senior year, Frank broke basically every major college scoring record. And with the 100-point game being the highlight of his career, he did it with such ease. It made it look that way. Your really great players make it look real easy. Frank averaged right at 42 points a game. His percentage, if Ed had a 3-point line, he would have had the 100-point night. I don't know how many more points he would have had. Frank was the first super famous basketball player. People today, 50 and 60 years later, recognize that name and say, oh, I remember when Frank Selvey did this or Frank Selvey did that. Frank did in the 50s what these NBA players are doing today. Getting the ball out, run the ball, shooting a 3. People were shooting set shots and one-hand push shots and walking the ball down the floor. He perfected the jump shot. And it was somebody like him that anything he saw he wanted to do, he figured it out. Same way on the golf course. It was a pleasure. It was truly a pleasure. And Frank physically had the body. By the time he was a senior, he was like 6'4", weighed 190 pounds. There was a tremendous amount of love and affection in our family that we had for each other. And we always knew that. Anytime you get honored in your state, I think it means a lot. I know Frank will be appreciative of it. What I think Frank would be most proud of would be his family, his brothers, his teammates. Frank's always been very caring and giving and concerning about his family. Thank you, Frank. We'll always honor and love you for what you did to our family and basketball, the great game of basketball.
Would you please join me in congratulating our newest inductee into the High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Frank Selvey. Representing Mr. Selvey is his brother, Marvin. We appreciate Corbin Independent School sponsoring tonight's award, and presenting the award is Jeff Gregory, Elizabethtown Mayor. it's so cool to see those old videos up there and think he was doing the same things that NBA players are doing now, way ahead of his time.
But 100 points.
Yeah, that's all. No big deal.
Wow. All right, let's get to the next inductee. And when you talk about an active person, I mean, if you were in business or you're an entertainer or you're in your sport, to go into your Hall of Fame and still be active, that's pretty special. And that's what we've got some of tonight, not just one. So we're going to get to Rodney Woods, who's been 37 years going in high school basketball. And if there's a guy from Kentucky who knows the route to Lexington from Wayne County, it is Rodney Woods. He's been there 9 times to the Sweet 16. Let's take a look at the video now from Rodney Woods.
Coach Rodney Woods, Wayne County High School, 1987, and currently active today. An all-state player at Lone Jack High School in 1971, Rodney Woods would go on to a stellar career at Tennessee. And as point guard, he directed the Ernie and Bernie show for Coach Ray Mears Volunteers. As good as Rodney was as a player, he may have become a better coach. He is Kentucky's 5th all-time winningest coach with over 800-plus wins and has twice been named Kentucky Coach of the Year. Coach Woods has been at Wayne County 37 years and counting, averaging 20-plus wins per season, taking the Cardinals to 9 Sweet 16 tournaments. His career has taken him from Lone Jack to the University of Tennessee to Wayne County, and now has brought him to the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
I grew up in 4 Mile, Kentucky, and played at Lone Jack High School. My dad, he played high school basketball. He was on an undefeated team that lost in the regional finals to Clay County when he was a senior. We had a history of basketball in our family, had a great basketball area, lots of great players. We had a great time, and the community, they loved basketball, and it seemed like every time we played, the place was packed. Visited Kentucky in December of 1970. My dad and I stayed at the Campbell House. I can remember like yesterday having breakfast with just myself and Coach Rupp. He looked at me and he said, I've heard a lot about you, and he said, but I'm probably not going to get to see you play because I don't think they can land a plane in 4 Mile, and it's too far for me to ride a car. The Tennessee coaching staff had a coach watch me play 17 consecutive games. My dad looked at me and he said, I know how bad you want to go to Kentucky. He said, but sometimes you got to go where they want you the most. Something I'm really proud of is being on winning teams throughout all my career in high school and college. I've always loved team sports. I love being part of a team and contributing and helping others, and I always felt like as a player I was the leader of the team on every team I ever played on. Got a lot of enjoyment out of that and satisfaction being able to help other guys be better. I always wanted to coach, and my college coach knew that. He said, I'm going to give you some real good advice. He said, don't ever play pickup games. Don't ever play horse with your players because they mistake kindness for weakness. He said, keep your distance. And I think that's something that really helped me in coaching because I've always tried to be a leader for my players and be there for them, but I've always, I want them to know that I'm there to coach them. I'm not there to be their buddy. My first paying job, I was an assistant at Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee. We had a great team there and learned a lot. I didn't like college coaching. I liked the coaching part, but I didn't like the recruiting. Decided I wanted to coach high school and got my first job coaching high school in 1977 at Powell Valley High School in Speedwell, Tennessee. In the second year that I coached there, we got beat in the state championship game, lost 64-62, and we finished 34-2. It's one of the things I've always enjoyed and loved about high school in Kentucky. In Tennessee, when they say who's the state champion, you know, you got people all over the state raising their hand. In Kentucky, there's only one team that can do that. The first team that would have to stand out would be Wayne County's basketball 1989 team, which would have been the third year I was there. We lost in the state championship game, again, 75-73 to Pleasure Ridge Park. We made it back 8 more times after that. We never got any farther than we did that year, but 9 times at Wayne County, since I've been there, we've made it to the state tournament. And all those teams are special. The players win games. Someone says something about how many wins At Wayne County, I say, you know, my teams have won this many games. It's not plays, it's players. You have to have good players to win. Cynthia's, she's really been kind of the rock behind what all we've done at Wayne County. She does just a little bit of everything. She's always there and positive, and after the games are over, when I'm ready to say, I don't know if I can do this anymore, when on those long nights when you lose those close ones and all that, but she loves it as much as I do, and that's made it even more special and a lot more fun.
Please welcome Rodney Woods. His sponsoring his award tonight is Monticello Banking Company, and his presenter is Dr. J.K. Phillips, the MBC Board Chair. Did you ever play horse against your coach?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I did not. I would have won, though, if I did. All right, so our next inductee is from my era. That doesn't make us old, does it? No, okay, good. So I was playing basketball at Campbellsville University at the same time that our next inductee was playing basketball, and it wasn't unusual for our team to all gather in my room. I don't know why my room ended up being the gathering spot, but we would all gather in our room to watch the University of Kentucky play, and this guy, without fail, every single game, gave us all something to be talking about that night and the next day in practice, and actually ended up being everybody's favorite player. There were probably a few jerseys running around the place as well, too, so a couple DA jerseys that could be seen on Campbellsville's campus. So it's my pleasure tonight to introduce to you up next Derek Anderson.
Derek Anderson, Louisville Doss High School, 1992. Derek Anderson was a showstopper on the basketball court throughout his career. He was an all-around talent whose athleticism was off the charts. Derek was a two-time All-Stater at Louisville Doss, where he started for 4 years. He would leave Kentucky briefly, signing with Ohio State, but returned and enjoyed an electric career at UK under Coach Rick Pitino, a Doss Dragon who flew high and mighty over basketball courts across the land. Welcome, Derek Anderson, to your new home, the home of legends, the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
I played football a lot. I was a great football fan and just loved it. I was a running back. I was small, but I was fast. So basketball kind of found me in a place where my life took me that way. Home life was really rough in the standpoint mentally and emotionally. I was confused. I remember going home and having issues in my home life with my mom and family. And I just went back to the court just to kind of sit there and watch guys play. And I remember not wanting to go home. So I kind of waited till everybody got done. I just picked the ball up. Somebody left a little flat basketball and I just started picking it up, throwing it up there, and just started playing. I was 10 years old. I fell in love with it because it saved me from a lot of other things. So it was kind of a mutual thing. It found me, I found it. Before I turned 12, I came home to an empty apartment. I go to work in Winn-Dixie, get a loaf of bread, get bologna, save up money, because you just asked to carry people's bags. It was 84 for 5 or 10 cents. I made my money, bought lunch. I knew how to take care of myself because she'd been gone before. And weeks go by and she never comes back. What is life now? And I just literally stayed on basketball courts all day. I would fall asleep on the basketball court. Wake up next morning, they have free lunch at the park. I go over and get it, go back to my place. No heat, no electricity. Water was on, take cold baths. Like, it was rough at the age of 12. But again, I was worried more than I was angry. And I think that kept me from going to a bitter place. I knew that my Uncle George would come into my life. I knew that my teammates would help me. I would stay over Maurice Moore's house. I would stay at my best friend Terrence's house. I literally stayed in the neighborhood. It took a village to make me. That's why I always come back to my home. I always try to help those people out. And for me to go through that at that time, I felt like I had a bigger purpose in life. And it wasn't to be the greatest basketball player. It was to do something with the name that I had. So I wanted to do more than be Derek Anderson. So I heard I was good when I was in middle school. They said, you were good in middle school. Then people saying, you're really good, you're good. I didn't believe it until my sophomore year, and I played against PRP, and we was in an LIT. And they had some good players. I just wouldn't back down from those guys, and they were all giving me praise, and I was like, I think I can play. I started doing everything to make myself better. I watched basketball games all day, so I would go and watch Allen Houston. Richie Farmer lead his team. I saw, because they was the king of bluegrass. Travis Ford and them, Madison County. Like, I watched everybody, so I'm watching guys. It wasn't a certain player, I just watched everybody. And I said, well, I'm gonna take that move.
I watched the hesitations. I watched Allen Houston's follow through. I just played hard and I studied. It was going into my junior year, actually. They were expecting me to do big things because I became a 6'5" point guard with a 40-inch vertical. They was talking about all these things. I could score, I could shoot, I could dribble. I played defense already, so I was kind of a complete player. And they said for Doss to win, he has to do everything. And so it put pressure on my mind. It's like, well, everything, like I ain't never had to do everything. Like I always had some guys to rebound, and it kind of wore on me a little bit because I knew I had to do more. Game nights became a showcase for me. Like I said, I was just like, go ahead and lay the ball up. Now I would go up and bust a guy's shot just because I know I could. And coach would be like, guard him. I'm like, I got him, coach. So it became a showcase. So my whole career was stopped by the 6th region. PRP won my freshman year, straight up back-to-back. They beat me in the regional championship. So I always got stopped by a champion, so I was okay. I knew my senior year at Doss, it was my time to shine. And I got to showcase my game every night on the roads. Like I had 8 dunks my first game of my senior year. I knew every gym that I went to was to leave something at that gym. I don't care what it was. I don't care if I beat you by 30, or I hit you with a game-winning shot. It was to leave something at that gym, and I always felt that way. The reason I came to Kentucky is Coach Pitino made me feel like he understood who I was as a player, and he was going to allow me to be that. So when a coach knows who you are as a player, he made me feel like I was going to be cool there. Well, Margaret George actually saved me because the day he found out I was like not having anybody around and found out I had a son, he told me, I'm going to help you be a man, but I want you to stand on your own 2 feet and never take anything from anybody. And for him to tell me to man up and take it on my own, I didn't make any excuses. I didn't complain about it. I just said, okay, what do I need to do? And he gave me a great blueprint of watch your temper, go to school, get your education, never blame anybody, and always have a smile on your face. And what did I get known for? And it became a great, significant piece of my life. So he just became a great man to me. He still leads me, and it's been great.
Please join me in congratulating the newest member of the Hall of Fame, Derek Anderson. We appreciate Republic Bank and Trust sponsoring the award this evening, and here to present it is Todd Ziegler, Republic Bank and Trust Market President. Thank you all so much for that, and congratulations, DA. That's good advice right there. And listen, I have to think, as you watch that video and you hear him talk about how he came up and how he really defied the odds and succeeded, what a role model.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, even for those that have covered him, he has been a role model and had the chance to get to know him through the years, and it's been awesome to be able to talk to him and just to know his story. Derek Anderson and the drive he had. All right, let's next get to our next inductee, and we could easily be standing here tonight doing an induction for Golf Hall of Fame for this one. And instead, we are going to do basketball, and it also comes from a long line of family. I mean, we all know how throughout Kentucky, a lot of times the drive comes from within the own family that he teaches you the game or games and pushes you to get better and better. Let's take a look now at Pat Talent.
Pat Talent, Maytown High School, 1971. A 2-time All-State player in 1970 and 1971. Pat also made the All-State Tournament team in 1969 as a sophomore for the Maytown Wildcats. The Talent family is a part of Kentucky high school basketball history. The 4 brothers, Bill, Bob, Mike, and Pat, helped put Maytown and Floyd County on the Kentucky basketball map. Pat, at 6'3", was arguably one of Kentucky's greatest shooters. He was a high school All-American and went on to have an outstanding career at George Washington, playing for his brother Bob, who was the head coach. Pat also excelled in the game of golf, winning the 2014 U.S. Senior Amateur Championship and the 2015 British Senior Amateur Championship. Pat is part of a talented family where the youngest learned from his brothers and now enters the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, where he will be honored as one of Kentucky's greatest.
Maytown was only 250 people. Our high school, when I graduated, was 120, and I had 24 people in my graduating class. My great-great-great-grandfather, John May, bought the 200 acres in this floodplain that became Maytown. My grandmother, she owned the only grocery store in town. She had 8 children. Most of them lived in Maytown. She gave them each a house. And then the school was in Maytown. My Uncle Ed was the principal. Aunt Shirley was the librarian, and my Aunt Joyce was the home ec teacher, and my mother was the English teacher, and my uncle was the math teacher. My parents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, they cooked every day. I had a habit of going down to see my grandmother, and she'd look at me and say, "Pat, you look like you need a bacon sandwich." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." And I go next door to my Aunt Shirley's, and she said, "Pat, you look hungry. Why don't you sit down here and have some spaghetti with us?" And I'd sit down and have spaghetti. I go next door to Aunt Joyce, and Aunt Joyce would fix me something, and then I go home. It was a magical time in a very small town. I had 3 older brothers. My older brother Bill, he was 10 years older than me. He went to Presbyterian College on a scholarship, and he played basketball in college. My brother Bob was next in line, and he averaged 40 points a game. He went to University of Kentucky. And then my brother Mike came along, averaged 26 points a game. Mike, that was the first team that Maytown ever had that went to the state tournament. Then I came along, and in '69, we were 35-3. We got to the semifinals of the state tournament, lost to Louisville Central. They had Ron King and Otto Petty and Leroy Tillman, and they were really good. First of all, we only had 7 players that played regularly, and I was the tallest guy on the team, and I'm only 6'3", so we weren't big, and we didn't have any depth. Louisville Central, man, they were good. That's the beauty of Kentucky basketball. We wanted to have our chance against whoever the best team is, and we did. We had 120 people in high school. Central had 2,500, but you only put 5 guys on the court at one time, and if you've got 5 good ones, and you play well together, you got a chance. My brother Bob hated to lose. He hated to lose more than anything in the world. He and I used to pair up against my oldest brother Bill and Mike. We played 2-on-2, and because Bill was getting a little old, and Bob was the best, and I was a little young, so Mike took Bill, and Bill would try to beat me up so that he could take off, make up for Mike losing to Bob. So we had some spirited games, as you might imagine, between the 4 of us. I had a series of games there when I was a senior. I scored 65 against Car Creek, and then I scored 62 against Martin, our arch rival, and I scored 53 against Inez. So King Kelly Coleman, the greatest player in the history of Kentucky basketball, King Kelly got 75 points against Maytown, and that was in '56, I think. Before the game, Coach Frazier comes in and said, "Boys, I've never seen anything like this before, but Pat, I want you to get 75 points tonight." Because we were playing Wayland. Somebody at Wayland had heard about it. When they came out, they refused to shoot. We tipped off, they got possession, and all they did was just dribble around, try to keep the ball. So needless to say, I didn't get to 75 points, but we would have loved to have wiped out that record that King Kelly got against Maytown. Bob scored 40 points a game. He got 52 points. It was his high game, and I always wanted to beat that. So my first game as a junior, and I got 50. And there's like 3 minutes left in the game, and I cramped up in both legs, and I couldn't finish the game. And then I didn't get 52 then until there was only like 5 games left my senior year. Finally, Inez, I got 53, and that opened it up. But I always wanted to beat Bob, I'm glad that I'm going into the Hall of Fame now, and Bob's not in. So there you go. There's one thing that's the first thing I've ever gotten into before he did. Kentucky, high school basketball is what it is. To be able to go in is pretty impressive.
I told you this was a family affair, right? But the only one going in tonight is Pat Talent.
Right, that's
Please welcome him now. Sponsoring tonight is the Floyd County Fan, and the presenter is Jerry Grigsby, a Hall of Fame member.
I don't know, Keith, I would have liked to have been there for some of those backyard games.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, see, I had sisters, so I couldn't beat up on them.
He chose the word spirited, though. I thought that was a clever choice of words there. Spirited.
Very
yeah,
spirited.
I bet. Yeah,
Very
I bet it
spirited.
was. Yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Well, most of us never even get a sniff at a pro career in one sport, much less 2. Our next inductee was a gifted athlete with incredibly unique talents on the baseball diamond and the basketball court. And tonight, he's honored for his success on the hardwood. It's Clarence Cave Wilson.
Clarence Wilson, Horse Cave High School, 1945. Clarence Wilson was a premier player in the Kentucky Athletic League from 1942 to 1945, leading Horse Cave to a 65-1 record and 2 state titles. The Tigers, under the tutelage of Coach Stone Thomas, were also national runner-ups in 1945. Clarence would go on to a distinguished career at Tennessee A.I. before choosing to become a member of the Harlem Globetrotters, choosing basketball over baseball for his professional career. He was a Globetrotter from 1949 to 1964, the longest tenure of any Trotter of his time. Clarence Wilson and the Horse Cave Tiger story would require a movie to accurately depict their greatness. A Kentucky treasure, the Hall of Fame welcomes you to your new team.
Born in Horse Cave, Kentucky, and he had one brother, Curtis, and one sister, Shirley. The family lived very modestly. They didn't even have a gym to practice, so they would go to Mumfordville. Sometime they would go there to practice. Otherwise, they practiced on a dirt court right there at Horse Cave in the middle of winter even. His coach, Newton Thomas, he just took these kids under his wing. He pulled these kids together, and they accomplished. My dad never once bragged about his talent and his talent level. He just always smiled, and his talent was a natural gift in basketball and baseball. They say he was just phenomenal, a shooter, and he was quick, athletic, and just amazing. Tennessee State, they did recruit him pretty heavily. Oh, he loved it, and that's where he met my mother, of course. So, and he played baseball and basketball again. The Cleveland Indians signed him, but he decided to stay with basketball after Tennessee State. But yeah, he loved that experience there. The only thing that I ever heard about, and I hear about it all the time in Louisville, beating Louisville Central. Central was undefeated, the powerhouse as far as black high schools and in the state, and he said, we beat the pants off of them. Yo, your daddy was just awesome. They came up here, it was a packed house, and they ran us ragged. Them little boys from Horse Cave. It was just amazing, the people that he knew. And like the comedian Jerry Lewis, he would tell the stories of his roommates, like Bob Gibson, the baseball Hall of Famer, and Wilt Chamberlain was his teammate and roommate, to meet Queen Elizabeth, the Pope, President of Russia at the time, Khrushchev. As a father and a teacher for his family and his kids, was to do the best that you can do. He loved his grandkids, oh my goodness. He was a probation officer for 27 years after playing ball. Felt like his greatest accomplishment was doing that. He helped a lot of young men from the inner city. He was their father. He was everybody's dad. Parents would call 3 o'clock in the morning. He would get right up and go out and handle that situation. One other thing is ping pong. Philip Bond, a friend of ours, he would bring some of his U of L friends, somebody that's so good in ping pong, and my dad would beat the pants off of them. Mother was everybody's mom. Anybody that met her instantly bonded to her and looked up to her. He would be very, very proud to be honored. It is an honor. It's an awesome honor. And it's amazing to me to see him take where he came from to traveling the entire world, and it's just amazing.
Please join me in congratulating the newest member of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Clarence Wilson. Clarence is no longer with us, but we are happy to have his son, Clarence Wilson Jr., accepting on his behalf. This award tonight is sponsored by some fans from Western Kentucky and is presented by Clarence Glover, who is a current Hall of Fame member. We're happy to have you back with us, sir. As I listen to that video, I'm thinking about another role model. My goodness, someone who is a father figure to so many after his career, but even during, at such a young age, to have such an impact.
And the thoughts of a dirt court that just resonates to some of the old days, and even down when I covered teams in Eastern Kentucky, seeing some guys out on some dirt courts working on their game, just to get better.
Incredible.
Let's go now to our next coach, and easily understandable why this coach is here tonight, because you're talking about 14 district titles, 10 region titles, a state championship, and just a meager 84% win percentage. Let's take a closer look now at Coach Bill Brown.
Coach Bill Brown, Louisville Southern High School, 1976 to 1995. Coach Bill Brown was Kentucky Coach of the Year in 1987 when his Louisville Southern Trojans won the Sweet 16 state championship. His teams would win 447 games while losing only 116, an 84% winning percentage. Coach Brown's teams won 20 or more games for 13 consecutive seasons. From 1981 to 1993, they were district champions 14 times, regional winners 10 times, and captured the ultimate prize in 1987. He is a Louisville legend, not only known for his coaching skills, but for his professionalism and personality. Coach Bill Brown joins his 1989 Miss Kentucky player Lisa Harrison in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. He is now a member of the legendary Hall of Fame coaching staff.
I was born in Lincoln County, Crab Orchard, played basketball at Crab Orchard High School, Berea College 1 year, and then Eastern. And I decided I wanted to coach. I actually started coaching boys. They were good kids, and we won the first championship when I was at Whitehall. I went to Jefferson County, Southern High School. I started coaching the girls team there. We had some pretty good players. I coached as hard with the girls as I did when I was coaching the boys, and we did about the same thing, and the kids all responded to it, and they knew what to expect, and we had some good players. I was proud of all of them because I had good teams, and even before Lisa, we won the region. When Lisa came on, we had a super team then. It was her junior years when we won the state, and then the senior year came out back and got beat by 1 point and kept her from winning the state twice. Enjoyed winning more, but also we had some good teams that played close. Our junior year, I think it was, we played a team in California. They had never lost a game in the state of California, and we beat them in the finals to win the tournament, and that was a big thrill we got. We had good height. Lisa was a little over 6 foot, and we had some others who was 5'10". The Burden girls were short and scrappy, played hard. We had we had crowds. In fact, we had most of the time we had more people to watch us play than they did our boys. Good assistant coach, Russ Thompson, and we were together most all the time. I had really a supportive principal. The whole school, a lot of the teachers were proud of our kids. Thought I took care of our players, all of them. I didn't really have to get on them very much. Last year in the spring, my wife had a thing for us to have a bunch of them come back in. All had a get together and had a great time.
Our inductee, Coach Bill Brown. Being sponsored by the Kentucky Humanities Council, and his presenter tonight is former Olympian Kenny Davis.
He said he coached the girls just like he coached the boys. That's because girls can play. Is that right, Coach? Girls can play, right? Yes, that's right. Well, just because you were a great player doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach. And not all great coaches were great players. But our next inductee was, in fact, that rare combination of both. And tonight, Bob Mulkey enters our Hall of Fame.
Bob Mulkey, Lexington Lafayette High School, 1950. As a Lafayette General, under the tutelage of Coach Ralph Carlisle, Bob Mulkey would lead the Generals to the state title in 1950. A two-time All-Stater in 1949 and 1950, he would further his basketball career at Eastern Kentucky University. If it wasn't enough to be a high school star, he would double down as a high school coach at Louisville Seneca, leading the Redskins to consecutive state championships in 1963 and 1964. He went on to coach at the collegiate level. A Kentucky icon, Bob joins his many friends as a member of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
I grew up in the city of Lexington. My dad got a wild idea that he's going to buy us a house out by Lafayette High School. Back in those days, we didn't have much of a basketball program except that Pickenham High School had baskets on their backboard that had an arm in the basket. And when the ball would go through, the arm would hold it and then it would release it. And so I grew up on the slow motion type of basketball. My dad had a wise idea. He said, I might as well to fix you a rim that will help you to learn to shoot the basketball. He cut out the inside of it so that it was only large enough for the basketball to wiggle a little bit. I was known as possibly the first one-hand set shooter in Kentucky. Everybody I played with shot two-handed. Coach Carlisle was what was referred to in those days as a tyrant. You didn't chew gum, you didn't whistle, you didn't make any unnecessary sound. A good friend of mine, Charlie Sutherland, whistling in practice. Coach Carlisle slipped up behind him and yelled his name out, and as he turned around, he threw a basketball, hit him right in the face. And that's how he disciplined you in practice. He was a very tough coach, but he was a very good coach. As a junior, we're runners-up in the state tournament. Possibly could have won it if it hadn't been for a young man at Owensboro High School named Cliff Hagan. Our coach decided that in a championship game we were going to let Cliff Hagan get his points and we were going to hold down the others. But we got beat 15 points because Cliff Hagan got 41 points. At that particular time, I thought I was pretty hot stuff because in the afternoon game against Paris High School, I had scored 30 points, which tied the state tournament record until Cliff came along that night. And then the next year, we beat Clark County in the championship game of the state tournament in 1950. I had Ralph Carlisle at Lafayette. I had Paul McBrayer at Eastern Kentucky, who was a drill sergeant in World War II, and he used to drill sergeant us quite a bit, but he was a great coach. But I was so impressed by the two coaches that I had, I didn't have much doubt that I wanted to coach. When I was coaching at Seneca in Louisville, I could not believe the talent that I saw come in that gym. There was a young man, his name was David Cosby. He says, well, I'm better than anybody that's out here. And I said, if you're better than anybody that's out here, then you're a whiz-bang diddly-whopper. I'll tell you that right now. That team was absolutely phenomenal. Actually, at my age, to be recognized as a player does me a lot of good. And I was named the #1 basketeer of 1950. I think that does me as much good as anything I look back on. I really enjoyed playing.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in congratulating our newest member of the Hall of Fame, Bob Mulkey. Bob's award is sponsored by Central Bank and Trust, and here to present the award is Bill Foltz.
All
All right, the night for Lafayette continues here. This is a special one for them. And, if you had the chance to say that your two coaches were Jock Sutherland and Joe B. Hall, that'd be pretty special. It was almost a perfect season for one Lafayette team. And, Dirk, I hope you don't keep thinking about that one loss because you were a state champion. And also, he had the chance to talk with Derek beforehand, and they were kind of comparing dunks. But if you know, long before YouTube came along, and now you get to see it, Dirk Minifield has one of those dunks that he's just going and going and going, and it's a special one to see. Let's take a look at Dirk Minifield.
Dirk Minifield, Lexington Lafayette High School, 1979. Dirk Minifield joins his former Lafayette coach, Jock Sutherland, in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Dirk would lead the Generals to a 36-1 season and a state championship in 1979. His flashy all-around game was well suited for the fast and furious Lafayette team that was all but a win away from going undefeated. Dirk was a three-time All-State player, 1979 Mr. Basketball, and an All-American his senior year. The 1979 Lafayette team was one for the ages. A charismatic coach, an All-American guard, and a team with a flair are rarely seen at the high school level. Dirk Minifield would go on to a successful basketball career at the University of Kentucky and will always live in the hearts and minds of Kentucky basketball fans. Welcome, Dirk Minifield, to the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
When I was little, in my neighborhood, which they call South Hill, basketball was a big deal. I got introduced to the game, two little short guys. One name was Billy Richardson, the other one's name was, he was called Rabbit. He was a karate guy. They taught me a lot about basketball. Played every day. In 7th grade, I was like 6'2", so I was at that height, but I already had guard skills. It gave me a toughness about myself. In the 7th grade, I won the Fayette County Fair one-on-one. I started to realize that, hey, I'm pretty good at this game, I had a cousin, Clarence Lane, who played for Jock, so my whole dream was to follow him at Lafayette. I wanted my own show. Jock told me, come here, I'm gonna play all the sophomores. Me, my brother, Kenny Minifield, George Giles, and Tony Wilson. We all go to Lafayette. He said, we're gonna win it all. Play everybody now. When we get seniors, we'll be the best team. And that's why he came up with the jailhouse jump. He came up with that defense as sophomores so we could grow with the defense. So now the team evolved. In my senior year, we become a great team. It was what a kid always dreamed about. Because we came through the era right before us. Jack Gibbons in the James League, in the Bryan Station against Henry Clay with Taste Creek and Lafayette. It was a phenomenal time in my middle school, so I wanted that. You go to Memorial Coliseum, it's 11,000 people to watch a high school game. It was like watching rock stars. So when I get to high school and we're playing in those games, I used to go get special haircuts for those games. Seriously, because it was a big deal. The whole city's gonna be out there, so I got to look my best, and then, we play for a flamboyant coach, Jock Sutherland. So, I'm coming out, I got the wristbands on. Me and Kenny got the headbands on. We got the knee pads on. We got the towel floating. You don't do that type of stuff in high school. With Jock Sutherland, let us get away with it. We played the first high school games to ever play in Rupp Arena. Bryan Station plays Lafayette. Henry Clay plays Taste Creek. There's 20,000 people for the first high school game, my first high school game. Me and him had a special relationship. It wasn't like coach, player. It was like father, son. They took care of me. I learned more from Jock Sutherland about life and how to deal with people, understanding who I was and my importance to the school of Lafayette. And I learned this from Jock. I'm a proponent that you do it on the court. You don't have to talk, you don't have to do nothing. It's all how you walk out there. You do it out there, everybody sees it. Nobody can question. And to come from the south side of Lexington, all I wanted to do was just play basketball. I never thought about being the best. I just wanted to do it.
Please welcome Dirk Minifield. Sponsoring the award tonight is Central Kentucky Fans, and the presenter is Ken Trivett, Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame Board Chairman.
$11,000 people to watch a high school game. Is that incredible?
It's amazing. I know it doesn't look it, but I got that special haircut for tonight, too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Looks good. All right, our next inductee was a prolific scorer in high school, so much so that she took home the state's highest honor as Miss Basketball, but also a first for our basketball-rich state, McDonald's All-American. I remember really how unbelievably hard she played and always competed. There was not a second that this young lady did not step out on the floor that she was not competing with everything she had. So that work ethic and outstanding career now land her in the Hall of Fame. It's Sarah Hammond.
Sarah Hammond, Rockcastle County High School, 2011. Sarah Hammond would launch the Rockcastle County Rockets to new heights during her ascent into stardom from 2009 to 2011. A three-time All-State performer, she would lead the Rockets to a state title in 2011 while garnering the coveted Miss Basketball Award that same year. Rockcastle County's record over her four-year career was 130 wins, 32 losses. Her senior year, the Rockets were 36-1. She would receive a basketball scholarship to the University of Louisville, where she distinguished herself athletically and academically. During her four-year career, Sarah would play in 15 NCAA tournament games, the most in school history, and led the Cardinals to a national runner-up finish in 2013. Sarah Hammond now joins the greatest players in Kentucky history as a 2021 inductee into the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
The youngest of three. I have an older brother who was a swimmer in college at Western Kentucky University. Sister that's 7 years older than me that ran track. My parents are born and raised where I grew up in Mount Vernon, Kentucky. I picked up a basketball at the age of 5. I don't technically remember, but my dad says he's talking to people in the stands, and the next thing you know, he turns around and I'm going and shooting on the goals. The first two basketball coaches I ever had, they were a married couple. Dee and Earl were their names, and they just made the game enjoyable. They taught us the fundamentals, teamwork, everybody's different special talents. One of my middle school coaches, Ken Mattingly, the man knew basketball. He was high IQ, and he never raised his voice. He wasn't one of the yellers, and he always knew how to get to me when I was frustrated. My high school coach, Christy Noble, she is the total opposite, energetic, funny, but can be very demanding at the same time. She saw all the talent in me even before I got to high school. Of course, I started playing in 7th grade for the varsity team. She always allowed me to push myself too. If that was a dream of mine to play college basketball, she just kind of naturally let me blossom and bloom into the player I was. Walking out on the court for a state championship, as an 18-year-old, that's probably the best feeling I've ever had in my life. To do it with my best friends that I've grown up with ever since we started kindergarten. That meant the world. And so after we won, those 5, 6 other girls, those were the first ones we all hugged, and we were like, we did it, we made it. And then to look up in the stands and see all of our families, those are the things you just live for. Being Miss Basketball for the state of Kentucky, that was actually an individual goal of mine when I got to my freshman year of high school, was I was gonna be a Kentucky Miss Basketball and be the first from our community. If I had to do it all over again, I'd choose U of L again. They were the first ones to ever offer me a full basketball scholarship. I'm not gonna lie, I was a UK fan at the time. Coach Walls, he's a man of his word. He kept his promises about the goals for myself individually and for the team as well. It was one of my dreams. I wanted to play on TV, play in the NCAA tournament, and have an opportunity to play for a national championship. Coach Walls promised that, and it happened. Every year I was there. The people that have inspired me to be here, first and foremost, is my family. My parents, above all, they're my #1 fan. They humbled me a lot when I kind of got a little full of myself. They just taught me what hard work is, what being selfless looks like, sacrificing your time and your money, and then also just being the biggest encouragers that they could. And so just my mom and dad would probably be the biggest inspiration for me. We were the first to ever win a state championship in our community, and I think That was the first moment I realized, my parents and my coaches and people that really influenced my life would tell me, sport is more than just a game. It can be very influential and impactful. And that was the first time in my life it was more than just me. It was more than just a basketball. Just representing my community, representing my family, for young girls, and ultimately, for God's glory and my faith. If you have passion and love for what you do, no matter what you're coming from, I think you can accomplish a lot. I was able to do that through the game of basketball, and I just think the representation of all that is what I'm most proud about.
Our newest Hall of Fame member, Sarah Hammond Barham. Central Bank and Trust is sponsoring the award tonight, and here to present it is Jeff Fultz, our Central Bank Market President. And I think congratulations are in order. It was May. You got married in May, is that right? We have a newlywed on our hands here. As I was commenting about how hard she played and how competitive she was, Sarah Elliott sitting over here going, Yep, that's right. Yep. Remember that, right? Yeah.
All right, let's continue now. And our next inductee, a player, a coach, a principal. I think he kind of did a little bit of everything. And on the last undefeated champion in the state, that's pretty special. Also, in June 27th of 2019, the Kentucky House of Representatives, they declared it Barney Thweet Day. How about that? How many of you have had a day named for you? That's pretty special. Not bad. And he's been in plenty of Hall of Fames, but now going into the Kentucky Basketball Hall of Fame.
Barney Thweet, Brewers High School, 1948. Barney Thweet was the team captain for the last unbeaten Kentucky High School Basketball State Champion. The 1948 Brewers Redmen completed their season with a perfect 36-0 record, defeating mighty Maysville in the final championship game. He was named to the 1947 All-State team and All-State tournament team. He would go on to become a star player for both Memphis and Murray State universities. A stellar coaching career would follow at Oldham County and Paducah-Tillman. Barney Thweet's basketball accomplishments were astonishing, but it was his character and leadership skills that were equally impressive. Hypothetically speaking, if the Hall of Fame inductees were a team, Barney would arguably be selected as captain.
First, let me say that I'm very humble and very grateful to have been a part of such a great run. And I don't think anyone's been more blessed than I have been blessed through name recognition and all the accolades that have come my way just because I was a member of that team. And it's been a great run, and so many good things have happened to me that I just feel very humble and very grateful. And then in my freshman year, we should have gone to state because we had the best team in the region. Only lost 3 games, but Milburn upset us. Then my sophomore year, we really were not the best team. We just won that night over Tillman on our last second shot. But then our junior and senior year, there's no doubt we had the best material and the best teams in the region. We pressed and we ran a lot. We ran a lot in practice. He made sure that we were in condition. And I would say his strongest point was that of conditioning and defending and rebounding. And that year, I remember Coach Terry said, fellas, we didn't go to the left enough. I remember we were a right-handed team, and he practiced a lot. Everything, let's go left now, let's go left. And it really helped because we were pretty much a right-handed team, I think, our junior year. At the end of the year, the Associated Press, I believe, named Brewers the #1 high school team in the nation. Being undefeated and being the Kentucky State champion, I guess has been enough, but that was certainly an honor to be recognized as the top team in the United States. And the thing about a single elimination tournament in any sport, the best team doesn't always win. The best team, the team that plays the best that night wins. But many times I've seen over the years, I've been going to state tournament for 70 years, and I've seen some of the great teams come in there undefeated, and they didn't win. And it's who plays the best on that particular night. I have seen so many great teams in this region that did not get to play in the state tournament. And I've seen many, many great players that did not get to play even one game in the state tournament. And here I am, fortunate enough to have been able to play in 9 state tournament games, and that makes you feel very humble. I guess I just feel honored every time anybody wants to talk about what our career at Brewers. And of course, you see my memorabilia. I can see things every day and smile. If I'm down on something else in life, I can look back, well, those were good days, you know, and I don't know what other people think about it. I don't really care. So many good memories that you just cherish very, very much.
Going into the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Barney Thweet. He is not with us tonight, but his daughter Gretchen Johnson is here to accept on his behalf. He's sponsored by the Western Kentucky fans, and his presenter is Curtis Turley, also a Hall of Fame member. I think I could still work with my left hand more too.
Yes.
I think that's probably why I'm doing what I'm doing and why they did what they did.
Yes, I think so. I think so, yes, no doubt. Well, I had the good fortune of covering our next inductee during her college career at Kentucky. And not only was she an imposing physical presence inside on both ends of the floor, but she was a complete game changer at the high school and the collegiate level. And there are so many things I loved about her game and loved in terms of watching her, but you know, it just was one of those things where I said she probably could have just stood there with her hands up and absolutely changed a game, but she was much more than that. So, you know, there was scoring around the rim, rebounding, blocking shots, really just did it all and was absolutely so fun to watch. So it's my honor to introduce our next inductee, Sarah Elliott.
Sarah Elliott, Jackson County High School, 2004. Sarah Elliott led the Lady Generals to the 2002 Kentucky State Finals. Sarah scored 2,731 career points and pulled 1,843 rebounds during her career at Jackson County. She also had 821 career blocks and at 6'6", dominated the paint. Sarah went on to play at the University of Kentucky, where she averaged 11.3 points and 6 rebounds per game. She also played 1 year of professional basketball in Poland. The Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame welcomes Sarah Elliott to the home of Kentucky's greatest players.
I think my first sport that my dad signed us up for was soccer. There's nothing but a horde of children chasing the ball. Me and my brother were always competing. Stepped into softball, basketball, and then here I was playing 3 sports at, 7. And Dad's like, well, you need to quit one. Well, I said, well, I want to quit basketball. And he said, no. To him, it became evident that I had a gift. I still to this day will dispute you about this gift. There's some really great coaches and players that really influenced my basketball career. Coach Greg Todd, teaching me about footwork, why it's important, pushing myself, even when you're exhausted. AAU coach Greg Collins, and the number one thing I will remember to this day that he said, he goes, Sarah, you've got all the greatest moves I've ever seen in a post player, but you use them all at the same time. Pick one, commit, and you'll score. And I went, wow. That changed from knowing to be a post player and being the post player and allowing your instincts to take over and just committing to them. And one time we were in a tournament and I backtopped my mama and he looked at me and I was like, oh, Jesus, I'm so in trouble. And he pulled me aside, don't you ever do that to that woman who has supported you through all your life, gave birth to you, talk like that to her. You're like, yes, sir, and I never did. My high school coach, one of the best coaches, if not the scariest coaches I've ever met. I was not fearful of him or respected him, but I feared the punishment that he can inflict on me if I messed up. All right, Elliott, do 10 in a row. If you don't, you run. I did 10 in a row because I refused to run and did not like running. Or later on in middle school, all through high school, I didn't have a lot of people to practice against. There weren't other girls, and most of the guys didn't want to get beat up by the girl, so our assistant coach, Todd Rose, would sacrifice himself physically, get in there, pound me, get the pad. He would literally black and blue me during practice, and he physically and mentally prepared me for the next level. My mama, who was not only my mama, she was also my coach. You know, even though I loved her, we'd still butt heads. I mean, she's my mom, and she was coaching the freshman team, and she looked at Coach Parrott one day, get her off my team. I didn't play freshman anymore because we was just too much of a alike. But my mama, she sacrificed everything for me in my career. The 7th grade year, I grew 9 inches in 14 months. but it was extremely painful. There's a reason they call them growing pains. I'm 6'3" and in 8th grade, there I was. I mean, awkward as I'll get out. Clothes didn't fit. Clothes, never stayed long enough. Always picked on. I grew up to be 6'6". Growing up tall is hard. I mean, basketball gave me a purpose to use my height. It was really a path. You either accept it and you learn your coping mechanisms, or you don't. And I think if you don't, that you falter of figuring out who you are. I was known as that tall chick from Jackson County. Oh, we've got to play that tall chick from Jackson County. Oh my God. I mean, even to this day, you're like, oh, you're that tall chick from Jackson County. Like, yeah, that was me. The state tournament was 3 years of the ultimate test. Failed each year. Coach Parrott would tell us there's only one team in the whole state will end with a W. And it's either us or it's not. And we failed each year. But I'll never forget that journey. Not everything is a fairy tale or everybody wins, but sometimes the journey is better than the ending. One of my favorite honors is getting MVP at the All-A Classic State Tournament when we lost. You usually give that to the winning team, but I broke so many records for that All-A Classic State Tournament. My mom would tell me, she's like, Sarah, I think part of your greatness is not realizing how great you are and not letting that get to you. I think that's the greatest part about your greatness. And that's probably the best compliment I've ever got from somebody.
Well, that tall chick from Jackson County is getting the last laugh right here. She is now in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. Would you please congratulate Sarah Elliott Cannon. Tonight's award is sponsored by West Banco Bank Incorporated, and here to present the award is Marilyn Ford, City President from the Heartland region. You have quite a fan club out there. Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
You talked about everything on the court. I remember off the court what we saw there, the great interviews that we got after the games.
Oh, right. Never a dull moment. I love it. It's great. Yeah, it's great.
All right, finally, we have one more coach, another active coach that is going in tonight. When you talk about success, he's done it at a couple of different stops. 500 wins, 27 years on the job, 13 district titles, 10 region titles, and a state championship. And, I've had the chance to work in Eastern Kentucky, Central Kentucky, and Louisville. So the one place I really haven't been is further out west. And I know our paths have crossed, and I've interviewed him a couple of times. And I can just tell you nothing but professional. Let's take a closer look at Coach Tim Riley.
Coach Tim Riley, Warren Central High School, 1990 and active today. Coach Tim Riley's coaching career is still ongoing for the Owensboro Catholic Aces, where he won the 3rd region title in 2019, the first in the school's history, and repeated winning the title again in 2020. Championships seem to be a common theme for Coach Riley, having won 13 district titles, 11 regional crowns, and the ultimate prize, the KHSAA Sweet 16 State Championship at Warren Central High School in 2004. During his 15-year tenure there, his Dragons set fire to the 4th region with 13 20-plus win seasons. A personable yet highly competitive mentor, Coach Tim Riley adds another class act to the coaching ranks of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
I grew up in Bowling Green, Kentucky, 5 years old. My dad took me to a Western Kentucky game, and we got to see Clem Haskins and the Smith brothers and Wayne Chapman and those great teams of Western Kentucky. My dad took me to see Allen County High School. The greatest high school player in the country at that time name was Jim McDaniels. He dunked in that game. He hung on the rim. There's still that vision in me of Big Mac hanging on the rim. My dad was a Baptist minister and a school teacher, and my mom loved sports. They made sure my brother and I got to enjoy it and take part in all of it. My brother went to Western Kentucky and he went into coaching. I thought I could. My first job was at North Hardin High School. Coach Ron Bevers, who won over 800 games, and he played a big role in my career. I went to Covington Homes, and I was an assistant there for my friend Mike Flynn, and we lost in the 1990 state championship game to Stan Hardin's first great Fairdale team. Then I went to LaRue and was there. That was my head coaching start. We only had one winning season out of 4 there, so we weren't really very successful, but We had a winning record against North Hardin, and we broke even with E-Town. I thought that was pretty good. We got hired at Caverna by Kenny Henderson. We didn't win again. I'm driving down Dixie Highway, and I said, God, you want me to be a coach, something's got to change. So I called Chester Bethel, who was on the 76 Edmonson County team that won it all. I'd wonder if you'd be willing to coach. And he goes, well, I've been meaning to call you. She said, I've got a cousin that's got kicked off his team, needs to play, Tavis Barber. And I knew who Tavis Barber was. We won 22 games, went to the finals and stayed all A, got to the regional finals where I lost to North Hardin and Coach Bevers, and all of a sudden I was a good coach again. I went to Warren Central High School. We went 6-18. The next year we won 3 games. The next year we won 20, and from that point on, we won 20 every year I was there. The next 11 years, we won 8 region championships. Winning a state championship is so hard. You got to coach because you love it. When my group was great as sophomores, Lexington Catholic won it with a great group of sophomores. Next year, Mason County wins it with a great group of juniors. So we go back and the next year, win it all. It was a pretty special group. When I was at Warren Central, we had athletes, and so I wanted the game to be fast. When I came to Owensboro Catholic, I coached a different style. And my first year there, we won the 3rd region title for the first time in the history of the school. Although I love my teams, they didn't mean to me what my family meant to me. She let me move guys into the house when their families were having problems. The year after we won the state championship, my best player wasn't getting enough sleep. And I put him to bed every night. Some nights I took his socks off because I understand how important players are to win it. We're going to play in the finals on Saturday. Pam's mom and dad and sister were going to come down and stay with us. And Pam said, well, we'll put Troy on the blow-up bed. And I said, no, you and I will sleep on the blow-up bed. Troy's going to sleep on that good bed in there. And she's such a good wife, coach's wife, she said, okay. I've had 8 guys play in 4 state tournaments. That's the most of anybody ever. Nick Britt was one of those that played in 4, scored 1,400 points for me. Nick died when he was 28 years old. When I read the program, I was listed as a survivor, one of Nick Britt's survivors. I always thought, everything I've been able to do, it's been the greatest compliment that family thought enough of me to list me as a survivor. What just a great human being he was. I wish I couldn't tell that story. I wish Nick was still with us. I use it today to kind of help me keep going. Because there's times you think, oh, this is enough. And then I hope that I can influence somebody else like I did Nick and his family feel about me the way they did. My dad being a Baptist minister, he and my mom were servant people. And I've always felt like that I tried to be a servant coach. I tried to take care of my players. I learned a lot of that from Ron Bevers. That was probably more than anything is what I think set me apart.
Please welcome to the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Coach Tim Riley. His award being sponsored tonight by the Western Kentucky fans, and his presenters are Ken Henderson and Ron Bevers, a couple of guys who I think handed him some job.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, quite the fan club here. That's great. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we want to cap off the night with a very special presentation for you. Basketball is one of many traditions that we have here in the Bluegrass, but My Old Kentucky Home is certainly another one. And every year, that's how we finish off the night. We have a special guest that's with us that is a highly accomplished singer that will sing My Old Kentucky Home for us tonight. So you all please welcome Jim Bernard and join in with us.
Please stand and join me in our state song, My Old Kentucky Home. The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the children are gay. The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. The young folks roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by hard times come a-knocking at my door, then my old Kentucky home good night. Weep no more, my lady, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away.
Jim Bernard, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the 2021 class of Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. We're going to bring them together now for a picture, and feel free to take some yourself if you'd like to do that.
Tall guys in the back, he said. Who qualifies? That big girl from Jackson County. Feel free to step up and take pictures if you'd like. But this is how we'll conclude the evening. We want to thank everyone for coming and joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again next year, and congratulations to our class.